Hello everyone, this is John Paul with Christian HQ. Now today we're going to talk about Mathew Perry and how his tragic death could help us and give us a nice teaching lesson in quite a few different areas of our life. So let's go ahead and get into it. We'll go ahead and talk about what we can learn from Mathew Perry. Now, as you guys notice, my son isn't here with me today. He's going to be taking a break from this channel for a little bit because he's working on his own channel, which is called J.R. Kerfman. This is a really powerful, motivating channel that he has. He's devoting a lot of his time and effort into it, and I highly recommend everybody check it out. I'm going to put a link down below, so you just click on it and go to his channel, and I hope you guys all like and subscribe to it, and I know you'll get a lot of really great info from his channel. Now, about Mathew Perry, one of the things we can learn from Mathew Perry, I'm going to preface this by saying that I didn't really know a whole lot about Mathew Perry. I know he was an actor on Friends. I know Friends was a very, very popular show at his time, and a syndication it's still watched a ton. It just wasn't my type of show. Almost all my friends watched it. Most of my friends watched Friends, but I was one of the few that didn't really get into it that much. And as far as his other works of movies and stuff, I'm not really that versed in what he did or didn't act in. I do know he's a really famous actor, and then upon his death, it was covered by all the media outlets. You can't go anywhere in the news without knowing about Mathew Perry's death. And in reading about it, I did find out that he was doing an interview with Bill Maher one time. Now, Bill Maher is another person whose show I never watched. He's a known atheist. He's a big left-wing person. So just those two things right there, puts me out of it. It wouldn't be anything that I'd want to watch or, in my opinion, waste my time watching. But evidently, Mathew Perry was on there one time while Bill Maher was interviewing, and this is right after Mathew Perry just got out of the hospital. He had like a near-death experience from one of his addictions one time, and he did bring up his faith in God to Bill Maher. And knowing that Bill Maher and most of his audience is probably atheists and stuff, he still brought up God, which is a great point that we can all take from it. Anytime you are confronted with somebody that is an atheist, never be ashamed or afraid to admit your faith in God. Now, another thing from Mathew Perry that we can take a lesson from, I'm going to read this to you. I guess he has a book out, and in it, when he's talking about when he was hitting rock bottom, is what finally led him to turn to God once again, but this time with a humbler yet earnest plea. Recounting the event in his book, the actor writes, "God, please help me," I whispered. "Show me that you are here. God, please help me." He said as he kneeled, the light slowly began to get bigger and bigger until it was so big that it encompassed the entire room. What was happening, and why was I starting to feel better? He continued, "I started to cry. I really started to cry. That shoulder-shaking kind of uncontrollable weeping. I wasn't crying because I was sad. I was crying because for the first time in my life, I felt okay. I felt safe, taken care of. Decades of struggling with God and wrestling with life and sadness, all was being washed away. Like a river of pain got into oblivion. I had been in the presence of God. I was certain of it, and this time I had prayed for the right thing. Helped. In a world full of bad news, the very best news is that the Lord can transform and reform the very worst parts of us. Whatever you may be struggling with, turn it over to Him, knowing that He makes all things new." Revelations 21, verse 5. Okay, now in this prayer that he writes about in his book, he has a great revelation in there where he says he had prayed for the right thing, help. And that is the right thing to pray for. You should pray for God to help you. Praying for the riches of this world isn't the right prayer. Praying for your own fame and fortune isn't the right prayer. Praying for God's help is a right prayer. And evidently, Mathew Perry had always wanted fame and riches in his life. And like so many people, when you get it, you think that's it. God truly answered my prayer here. I am famous. I am rich. I have everything of this world that I could want. But it wasn't until he finally prayed the right prayer that he realized that what he was really seeking wasn't the true meaning and happiness here. It wasn't really what God expects us to ask of him. We're supposed to ask of him for help, of getting through this world, for help, of understanding what he wants us to do, for help in trying to worship God. And I really think that's a very powerful message that everybody can learn from. And another thing we can learn from the tragic passing of Mathew Perry is what's actually in the news. He was 54 years old, which is young, and it is a tragedy that he passed away. But everybody's had friends, co-workers, family members that was younger, the same age, that has passed away, also very tragically, but it's not in the news. You don't hear about your best friend passing away. You don't hear about that schoolmate that you went to school with passing away. None of them make national news because they're just not famous. But to the media's and to our society's eyes and pop culture, these people like Mathew Perry's lives have more meaning than what our friends do, the ones that don't make it big into pop culture. But in God's eyes, everybody's life is just as important as everybody else's. So just because your friends, your co-workers, your family members, their death doesn't make national news, that doesn't really matter. It's in God's eyes that it really matters. He's the one who cares how your life was or wasn't. It's in his eyes of how you lived your life that mattered. It's not up to ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, any of those places to dictate the worth of a man's life. 99% of the time, they get it wrong. They focus on the wrong things. And unfortunately, that's where everybody gets their sense of well-being from. Their sense of accomplishment is from what those media outlets tell us is an accomplishment, instead of just worrying about what God thinks is our accomplishments. That's what I want to talk about today. It was a little different not having my son here with me. But like I said, you guys really need to check out his site. His name is J.R. Kerfman. Putting a link down below on it. Please like and subscribe to our Christian HQ. And we'll see you guys next time.